There are certain places we pass every day without giving them a second thought. A street corner, a park bench, a house across the road. Familiar things become visible with time until one day they do something unexpected and remind us that the ordinary can be more frightening than the unknown. Tonight's story concerns a house that should not have remained empty, a house that held a secret no homeowner would ever willingly possess. Meet Thomas Walker, 41 years old, divorced, accountant, a man whose evenings consisted of little more than television dinners and staring out the living room window. Across the street stood an old Victorian house, abandoned, neglected, empty. At least that's what everyone believed. The property had been vacant for over 20 years. No buyers, no tenants, no visitors, just a decaying monument to forgotten time. Thomas had spent years looking at it, and every night it looked exactly the same. Dark, silent, dead, until one Thursday evening. At precisely 8:13 p.m., Thomas noticed something unusual. A light switched on, then another and another. The abandoned house suddenly appeared alive. His heart skipped. He moved closer to the window. People were inside, a family, a woman settling the dinner table, a teenage boy laughing, a little girl chasing a dog through the hallway. Everything looked normal, perfectly normal, except for one thing. The girl looked familiar, very familiar, because she was him. Thomas stared in disbelief. The child had his eyes, his smile, his face. The teenage boy was also him. The woman at the table looked older, but still recognizable, another version of himself. Every person in the house was Thomas, different ages, different stages of life, living together as one impossible family. He rubbed his eyes, yet the scene remained. Night after night, the lights appeared, the family returned, laughing, talking, leaving. Thomas watched from his window, unable to look away. One evening, the oldest version of Thomas looked directly at him, across the street, across the darkness, straight into his eyes. Then he smiled and waved. Thomas froze. The old man pointed toward the front door, inviting him. The next thing Thomas knew, he was standing outside, crossing the street, drawn toward the house. The front door opened before he reached it. No one stood there, yet somehow he knew he was expected. The interior felt warm, comfortable, filled with memories. Photographs lined the wall. Every picture featured Thomas, hundreds of versions of him, birthdays, graduations, weddings, moments that had never happened, lives he had never lived. The dining room buzzed with conversation. The family sat around the table, waiting. An empty chair stood among them, his chair. The old man gestured for him to sit. Thomas obeyed. "Who are you?" Thomas asked. The old man smiled. "We are you." The child giggled, the teenager shrugged, the others continued eating. As you were, as you are, and as you could have been. Thomas felt cold. The room suddenly seemed much larger. The old man leaned forward. Every decision creates a new path. Most disappear, some survive, and a few. His smile faded, become lonely. The walls began filling with shadows. The photographs changed. Happy faces vanished. Empty chairs appeared. Abandoned rooms, silent lives. The old man's eyes darkened. You stopped living years ago, Thomas. The room fell silent. We have been waiting. The family rose from their seats. One by one, their smiles stretched unnaturally wide. The little girl, the teenager, the old man, all staring, all waiting. The old man pointed toward the empty chair. Stay. Thomas backed away. No. The room trembled, the walls cracked, the lights flickered, a smiling face twisted into something less human, something hungry. Thomas turned and ran through the hallway, past the photographs, outside the front door, across the street, back into his own house. He slammed the door shut. The next morning, the abandoned house stood empty once again, dark, silent, exactly as it had always been. For weeks, Thomas convinced himself it had been a dream, a stress-induced hallucination, nothing more. Until one evening, while eating dinner alone, he noticed something on a chair across him, a framed photograph, one he had never seen before. The image showed a family gathering around a dining table. Every face belonged to Thomas except one, an empty chair, and beneath it, written in faded ink, reserved. Perhaps every life leaves behind echoes, versions of ourselves shattered across roads not taken, possibilities that linger in forgotten corners of existence, and perhaps on quiet nights these possibilities stare back, waiting, watching, wondering whether you're finally coming home to the house across the street or to the unknown.